She had everything. Fame. Beauty. Power. But not freedom. Natalie Wood, one of the most beloved stars of Hollywood's golden age, captured the world's attention with her stunning beauty, undeniable talent, and vulnerability that resonated with audiences. She could move millions with a smile, yet she struggled to break free from the confines of a life she didn't truly control. Beneath the glittering surface of red carpets and glamorous roles, a darker truth simmered, one that would come to light in the most tragic way. Natalie Wood's death, under mysterious circumstances in 1981, remains one of Hollywood's greatest unsolved mysteries. Her life, full of contradictions, left behind not just a legacy of film but a warning about the cost of fame. This is the untold story of Natalie Wood, the star who never truly existed. Natalie Wood, born Natalia Nikolaevna Zakharenko on July 20, 1938, in San Francisco, was a Hollywood starlet whose face became synonymous with the magic of cinema. She was the daughter of Russian immigrants, and from a young age, her mother Maria pushed Natalie into the spotlight with dreams of stardom. The young girl's natural beauty and radiant presence made her an immediate favorite, capturing the attention of both audiences and film executives. At just 5 years old, Natalie made her film debut in Happy Land, 1943, but it was Miracle on 34th Street, 1947, that marked her as a rising star. She embodied innocence and warmth in her roles, and soon, Hollywood had labeled her the Golden Girl of Hollywood. By the mid-1950s, her breakout performance in Rebel Without a Cause, 1955, where she starred alongside James Dean, made her a cultural icon. With blonde curls, a velvet voice, and a smile that could light up the screen, Natalie Wood captured the hearts of millions. The press dubbed her the girl with the golden smile and Hollywood's most enchanting star, cementing her as one of the greatest actresses of her time. But while the world saw Natalie Wood as the perfect image of beauty, grace, and vulnerability, she was also a woman trapped by the very image she had been cast into. Hollywood had molded her into the image of the perfect girl next door, yet the true essence of who she was remained hidden behind the bright lights of the silver screen. Her life was a carefully crafted illusion, a role she could never truly escape from. Behind the glamour and glitter of Hollywood's silver screen, Natalie Wood's past was far from the fairy tale the public believed it to be. Born to Russian immigrant parents, her early years were marked by instability, hardship, and a deep sense of isolation. Her mother, Maria, was a woman of unfulfilled dreams, pushing Natalie into acting at a young age to secure the fame and success she never achieved herself. But this drive came at a great cost. Natalie's childhood was shaped by her mother's overwhelming ambition. Maria, who had once dreamed of becoming a ballet dancer, was relentless in her pursuit of stardom for her daughter. From the moment Natalie could walk, she was placed in front of the camera, and the family's move to Hollywood was driven by this single-minded obsession. But what the public never saw were the hours of emotional neglect, the pressure to perform, and the absence of a real childhood. Natalie's father, Nick, was a janitor and prop builder, a man with a past that included his family's escape from war-torn Russia. He was often distant, unable to provide the emotional support Natalie needed. Her mother's domineering presence left little room for the love and care a child requires. At times, Natalie was forced to play the role of the perfect, smiling child star, while inside, she was struggling to understand her own identity. The harshness of her upbringing went beyond just parental expectations. She grew up in a family torn apart by emotional distance, the scars of war, and the trauma of migration. Her parents, though seemingly supportive, were often absent in the way that mattered most. Natalie, like many child stars, was pushed to grow up too quickly, robbed of the innocence that is supposed to accompany childhood. She lived a life constructed by others, constantly trying to meet expectations that were not her own. The painful truth of Natalie's childhood. Her feelings of abandonment, the loss of her true self, and the lack of a supportive family, were buried beneath the golden image that Hollywood had crafted for her. In the unforgiving world of Hollywood, Natalie Wood had to reinvent herself to survive. To fit the mold of what the studios wanted her to be, she had to erase her past, change her name, and craft a new identity, one that would fit the public's idea of what a star should be. Her true name, Natalia Zakharenko, was replaced with Natalie Wood, a stage name chosen by the studio that would come to define her in the eyes of the world. The name change wasn't just about marketing, it was about erasing her Russian roots and any ties to the past she had. It was about becoming an entirely new person, someone who could fit into the glamorous world of Hollywood stardom. Her accent was shaped, her mannerisms polished, and her very image was constructed to fit the Hollywood ideal. The studios, and more importantly, the powerful men behind them, sculpted her into the perfect starlet, someone who could command attention simply by walking into a room. But it wasn't just about the roles she played on screen, it was about the roles she played in her own life. She didn't rise to stardom, she was carefully molded by the hands of directors, producers, and the studio system. Her image was not just created in front of the camera, but in the meeting rooms and boardrooms of Hollywood moguls. The men who controlled her career didn't just make her a star, they created a version of her that would sell. Behind the glamorous image of Natalie Wood, there was a woman who lived in constant fear of being exposed. The fear of her real self being discovered haunted her, and so, she became a character in her own life. Hollywood didn't just make her a star, they made her live a lie. The persona she projected to the world was a carefully constructed illusion, built on the fear of rejection, of being seen for who she truly was. And yet, as much as she crafted her own image, Natalie Wood was forever trapped by it. She became a symbol of beauty and grace, but at the cost of her true identity. Natalie Wood's rise to fame was nothing short of meteoric. She was no longer just a star, she had become an icon. By the late 1950s, she had reached the pinnacle of her career, becoming one of the highest-paid actresses in Hollywood. Her performances in films like West Side Story, 1961, Splendor in the Grass, 1961, and Gypsy, 1962, cemented her place in the pantheon of greats. Critics adored her, and audiences were captivated by her beauty, vulnerability, and raw emotional depth. She was a true cinematic force. But with all the success came a deep, personal cost. Behind the glamour of the red carpet and the bright lights of Hollywood, Natalie was unraveling. The very things that made her a beloved star, her openness, her vulnerability, also made her fragile. The pressures of fame, the constant public scrutiny, and the fear of being exposed for the woman behind the mask were taking a toll on her mental and physical health. The world knew her as a beautiful and talented actress, but Natalie's personal life was far from the picture-perfect image Hollywood had created. She was battling deep depression, anxiety, and loneliness. The more successful she became, the more she felt trapped in a role she could never escape. Behind closed doors, she sought therapy and turned to pills to cope with the stress and emotional pain. She was constantly battling feelings of inadequacy, despite her immense success. She became dependent on drugs to get through the day, relying on them to numb the ever-growing fear that the truth about her might be revealed. Despite her success, Natalie was often cast in roles that did not reflect the full extent of her talent. She was stuck playing the same type of character, beautiful, tragic, and vulnerable, never given the chance to fully explore the depth of her abilities. The industry saw her as a commodity, and her value was measured by her ability to fit the mold they had created for her. In her private life, the cost of fame was even higher. Her relationships were plagued by insecurity and mistrust. She was married twice, first to actor Robert Wagner, then to producer Richard Gregson, but both marriages were strained by her deep personal struggles. The fear of being abandoned, of being exposed as someone she was not, loomed over her constantly. Natalie had everything the world could offer: money, fame, adoration. But at what cost? The very things that made her a star were the same things that led her to despair. Hollywood had created her image, but in doing so, it had stolen away the woman beneath the surface. Natalie Wood's tragic death on November 29, 1981, at the age of 43 marked the sudden end of an era. While the world mourned the loss of a beloved star, the circumstances surrounding her death were shrouded in mystery. Found floating in the waters off Catalina Island, far from the yacht she had been on with her husband Robert Wagner and actor Christopher Walken, her death was ruled an accidental drowning, though many questions remained unanswered. Was it a tragic accident, or did something more sinister occur that fateful night? What was certain, however, was that the image of Natalie Wood as the perfect Hollywood starlet was shattered. Her death, much like her life, became a part of the Hollywood myth, full of intrigue, unanswered questions, and a hidden truth. She was a woman who had lived in the shadows of her own stardom, unable to escape the pressure, the expectations, and the pain of the life that had been crafted for her. Though her life was cut short, Natalie Wood's legacy lives on. She left behind an indelible mark on Hollywood, an icon whose performances continue to captivate audiences to this day. But her legacy is not just one of films and fame. It is also a cautionary tale, a story of a woman who achieved everything the world could offer, only to lose herself in the process. She became a warning, a whisper in Hollywood's golden silence, about the dangers of fame and the cost of living a life that isn't truly your own. In the end, Natalie Wood didn't vanish. She became a symbol of the illusion that stardom can create, a woman who was never able to live for herself, always bound by the image that the world demanded of her. Her name will forever be remembered in gold, but the real Natalie Wood, the woman beneath the smile and the starlet's guise, remains a silent shadow.